show, whatever.
And the person who absolutely took over the show immediately after that, without being introduced, is Melissa Smith.
For those that listen regularly are very aware that I usually
Yeah.
come in like a tornado or something,
There
you
we
know.
are. There we are.
taking
Okay, now
over
we
the
got it.
show.
Everybody's up to full strength and got their picture on the TV and all the rest of that sort of thing. Would you care to continue taking over with the first
I can do
message
that.
from the San Antoine
I'd be happy to do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I love to share that for those that don't know a lot about St. Antoine Community, we are a large long-term care campus, and we're located in North Smithfield and on the line of Blackstone, Mass. and Woonsocket. And on our property, we offer an expansive continuum of services that range from long-term skilled care. We have a state-of-the-art rehab center, a private hospice suite, as well as a large secured memory care unit. And the two buildings on our property are the Villa at St. Antoine, which is our 76-apartment assisted living facility, and the Residence at St. Antoine, which is our 180-bed short and long-term skilled care facility. So if you're presently at a crossroads with your loved one and trying to determine when is the right time to seek more help and support, I encourage you to reach out to me. I'd be happy to walk you through your options. You can reach me at 401-767-3500 or email me at msmith@santantoine.net.
You guys have like full rehab over there and everything too, right?
We do. We have an awesome rehab. As I said, state-of-the-art rehab center, but it's a whole like life simulated space where we literally have a ATM machine and a walk through grocery stores. So we're really challenging all the different levels of cognitive functioning on top of coordination. Obviously, the physical rehab is the most critical part, but OT, PT, and speech therapy work all simultaneously in that space. So it's pretty awesome. So we whip you back up into shape. We challenge you with what it's like to go back home again. If you cannot succeed in going back home again, obviously we can support you for long-term care, but the goal is to ultimately challenge you, see if you're safe to return back home, and then make a decision.
So what kind of patients are go to the rehab? Is it always just somebody had their hip replaced or knee replaced? Or,
I mean, those are probably the most common.
Yeah.
But no, it's
Heart
so there
conditions,
are
stuff
some
like that, cardiac stuff.
planned occurrences. There are some planned knee replacements, hip replacements, etc. The unplanned ones, stroke recovery.
Yep.
Lately, I hate to say, a lot of falls are already happening. Normally, that's a winter time
right.
episode that takes place where someone has fallen. The summer, we had an odd amount of people with vertebrae fractures. So a lot of like spinal recovery and really odd, a quantity of them. I'd say probably a dozen or so. It just felt like a lot of referrals were coming in for the same thing. It was strange. All men too, so be careful.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so there's that, head injuries. It could be anything, even some psychotic episodes. Some people are just going through a tough time and have started their journey in Butler, and they just need a little bit of emotional healing and support. So whatever it might be, we've even had people who have come to me at assisted living, and they really are determined to live in assisted living and are not really ready to accept that they need nursing home level. We may, do a prepared event with their physician writing a script and have them go do a few weeks at rehab, challenge them there, see if they're really up to living independently in assisted living. So we tell them to almost prove us wrong. Let's see if you can do it, right? And more than half the time it works out. And sometimes if it doesn't, it sort of takes the burden off the family, and it puts the reality into place for that person that maybe skilled care is where they're safest.
Right.
So
I think that's the
there's a lot of different things. It makes the job very entertaining in a way because you're challenged every single day. No two situations are ever the same.
Yeah.
But so I could go on and on and on, but I won't. So as Dave is like,
I'll go on because I'd see if you agree with this, but I've often looked at because we've visited many times up there at San Antoine. So I've always gotten the feeling when I'm there in the assisted living section, it's like you're on a cruise ship.
Yeah, I do describe
because
it as that
you
quite
can
often.
go ashore if you wish.
Yeah.
And if you don't wish, you just hang around and there's something to do.
Yeah.
And there's assistance if you need it.
Yeah.
You've got hand railings everywhere in case things get rocky for you.
We do have a lot of happy hours, so things get rocky. Things get rocky.
Can I move in?
And seriously, it's it might be a little bit more expensive than having your own single family house and keeping it up and the taxes and all the rest of that stuff and the food and everything else.
Yeah.
But it might be just a tiny bit more
the margin's
expensive.
not really wide,
No,
and
it
I
isn't.
think we do have the ability. We go through a worksheet with families to really process even cables included, Wi-Fi's included, all those little things, and as gas and oil prices are going up, and Yeah, and like Tim started to say, it's it's also just the fact that you're in a safe environment
That's
and you've
the
got
thing.
supportive
It's the
staff
quality
there.
of
It's
life
all
there
that. Yeah.
completely outweighs any smidgen of more expense that it would take
Yeah.
you.
One of the things I point out, actually, I've pointed it out on this show, and especially since the pandemic, but now obviously that's been lightened and not quite in the same state we were a couple of years ago. But even when we were shut down to visitation and we were sort of just contained in our building, at least in the assisted living and the nursing home, exactly as you described it, I was selling it like a cruise ship. The rest of the world is shut down. Restaurants are shut down. People
Yeah.
are going into grocery stores loaded with gloves and hats and booties and whatever. People were having parties in our building. They were
Yeah.
uninterrupted. They were still dining in our dining room and having really elaborate meals prepared by our chefs. But now that we're out of the pandemic and things are back to normal in a sense, now it's just the reality of like winter in New England, right? If you're an elderly person and you're living home and you know that feeling of a snowstorm coming or icy roads and you feel homebound and you wonder, oh, how am I going to go get my meds or how am I going to get out to the doctors? At least when you're in assisted living, things keep rolling.
Yeah.
Your services, your needs are being met. We can still get you out to a doctor's office safely. We can prepare a meal for you. There's a housekeeper to vacuum your room for you. Like, it's all that. Nothing stops. It keeps rolling.
And you don't have to worry about the neighborhood kid who shovels your walk for a few bucks growing up and stopping to do it, and you got to go find another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Exactly.
Think about it. That's, I mean,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
more and more the adult caregivers too. I wanted to point this out because Tim and I have talked a lot off the air just about like the age that we're at and our parents' age and how are they gonna accept services? How are we gonna know when the time is right to get help? But I think a lot of it too is I remind families, I've reminded Tim, I've had to remind myself, we have lives too. And I think when you've reached a point where, your quality of life matters as an adult caregiver, and I'm not saying that you just need to drop off your parent and walk away, but it does take a tremendous burden off. And for them to be able to go into retirement and not worry that their 85, 90-year-old parent is home and I don't think I can go on that trip because what if something happens? So then a lot of families delay planning their lives because of their elder parent. And this is a great balance where you can say, okay, they're in a safe space. I can go do me. And there's no resentment. There's no hostility. It's just...
How do you get them to make the transition from, this is my house, this is where I'm comfortable, I've been here for, plenty of years, and I don't need the help, which we all know that they do, but that you get them to the point where they're like, you know what, I think I need to do this.
It's not easy. It really is my winning personality when I'm giving a
not only
tour.
that, but
I
It-
don't
Not
doubt
only
that at all.
But you encourage them to nest in the new space too,
Yeah,
right?
we
so
have-
they start feeling comfortable there because
Yeah.
they've changed this outlook or moved that chair or
have
brought
a
in
lot of
something
tactics.
personal from home.
I
Yeah.
have a lot of tactics, but I will say convincing them to just walk in the door and have a meeting. I say this to kids that reach out to me all the time. I'm like, just get them in. I'll take over. Only because once they walk in the door, they realize, especially the assisted living, it is not institution-like. It doesn't feel, and they have a preconceived notion of what it's going to look like when they get there, and they come in kicking and screaming in a sense. And then I take over. We just talk about what's going on at home, and a lot of the times, I hate to say it, but the elder person I'm meeting with is really annoyed with their kids. They're driving me crazy. They're talking to me like I'm the kid and they're the grown up and I don't. And I'm
Well, yes.
and I take over and I say, well, listen, do you want to get away from that? Come in here. We are professionals, so it's different for us to say, do you need help, or different for you to ask us if we need help. There's no pride involved. There's no, I think that's a big barrier for a lot of elderly parents is, I don't want to ask my kid for help. I don't want to burden them. I don't want to bother
Exactly.
them.
That's
so I'm going to
exactly
keep
what that
saying
is,
everything's fine when really it's not, and they're deteriorating at home.
Yeah.
And that's not okay either. So there's a lot of tactics. Every situation's different. You started to allude to even, we have a respite suite, so we have some opportunity as well to say, just try us out. There's no commitment. Come in, spend a
Right.
few weeks with us, see how the food is, see how the people are. And that's the other thing. That's what sells it, is the people. Because if you live in this area,
'Cause when
Woonsocket,
you-
North Smithfield, Blackstone,
When you move in,
Cumberland,
you've got staff.
chances are people that live there. That happens on my tours. It sells itself. I
yeah.
walk through and it's, oh my gosh, this is my friend so-and-so from the church. I haven't seen them in 20 years because I haven't been able to get out and go to church.
Right.
It's all those connections that happen organically that I have nothing to do with. But my winning personality is really where it starts. No.
Right.
So I could babble. I could keep going. I don't want to consume the show
No,
with
I
it
just
this
wanted
morning.
to point
but
out because I I had looked at the, assisted living. My parents have passed because they had medical issues and they didn't survive them. But I said to myself, this would be great for them. It just didn't happen, but I mean, this would be
Yeah.
great for them.
And we do have spend down on Medicaid. So I think that's important too. So it's not just, we talked about, it is actually financially affordable when you do the math and you do the planning. And a lot of people coming in now have long-term care insurance policies. So like there's ways for us to work through that financial support, veterans aid and attendance benefits, et cetera. But we also have the ability to spend folks down onto Medicaid. So it's not worrying about when I run out of money, where am I going to go? Other assisted livings are dedicated private pay facilities. Ours has the ability to spend you down, support you, transition you to different levels of care when you need it. So it's a very different experience. It really is.
And
Yeah.
we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm here too.
Important resource in the community, no doubt.
Very,
Yeah,
very much.
thank you.
How about a second message now? You've gotten to
Holy
quarter past the
cow!
hour.
Have we?
Yeah.
I mean, we're
It's
like
12
3
after.
minutes shy.
It's 12
of
Oh, no,
my-
you're supposed to hit the mark at 12 or 13.
Well, then Joe's been failing.
Yeah, it's miserable.
Joe's been failing.
Miserably.
All right.
I know from personal conversations, Joe is in awe of your conversational abilities, and he just sits there
He
waiting.
does.
Yes,
I think he does a
for
lot
his
of eye rolling
opportunity.
too.
Yes,
Doesn't he? We kind of take off with the show running.
somebody
I, on
sometimes.
the
take
other
it.
hand, I'm a bit more jaded, and I look at the clock. I'm Mr. Spock. I'm all logic, I got myself in big trouble with a friend yesterday
Oh.
because I was sleeping, and they woke me up with something that was kind of important, but I'd already handled it. And I was just doing Mr. Spock. Oh, it's not an issue. It's all been taken care of. Let me go back to sleep. But that wasn't really where
No.
it's supposed to go. Because they were emotional, and I was just retreating into logic.
Oh,
I get in
Well-
such trouble with people sometimes. I feel bad.
well.
You get over it.
Well, I don't want them to have to get over it. I would
They'll
like
get
to,
over it too.
I would like to improve myself.
Oh, you want to be more present and more. Engaged.
My goal is to be what people need me to be for them, and I fail.
That's a good
but
goal in life
I try to do better.
You are
Yeah.
human.
All right.
All right, so on to my second
On to
message.
your socks message.
I know this will be the last time I talk about it until next year. Well, this was a huge success, and I've talked about it the last few weeks on the show. We ran a 1-month collection of brand new socks at St. Antoine Community and also at the Park Square location for Navigant. I'm collecting socks for the Community Care Alliance, and it was a huge success. I actually have not been by the bin at Navigant. I'm just assuming it was a success because that's such a spirited group there that I'm sure they
Oh, yeah.
rallied around it. But I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for supporting this this project. It was a first for us. It won't be our last because of the amount of donations that we collected. So we're excited to maybe find another spin on this for the spring and continue to support Community Care Alliance and all the work that they're doing. So thank you. That's all my message was today was thank you.
Gratitude is appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll be back with Tim and Melissa and myself, and we'll get into the news, up to our knees in the news after these words.
Ed Carew here of the Carew Investment Group at 68 Cumberland Street in Woonsocket. Our telephone number is 765-8880. If you're looking for an investment firm that puts you first and works hard on your behalf, I'd like you to consider us. We're right here in Woonsocket, and we've been in business since 1987. So you don't have to go out of town for an experienced advisor, or work with an advisor based in Boston, New York, or who knows where. Someone you'll probably never meet. We encourage our clients to come to our office and sit down with us as often as they like. Why? Because we like to do business the old-fashioned way. We want to get to know you on a more personal basis so that we're more attuned to your financial needs. So if you're interested in speaking with us for a free, no-obligation consultation to find out how we invest your money, call us, Paul or myself, at 765-8880. Securities are offered through Bolton Global Capital, member FINRA and SIPC, and advisory services offered through Bolton Global Asset Management, a registered investment advisor.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee in Pawtucket. They're a 62-year-old family business that roasts all its coffee right here in Rhode Island. Founded originally as Excellent Coffee Company, they provide great coffee to food service establishments throughout New England.
Yes, we're back here on Coffee and on ON AM and FM radio. Dave Richards sitting in for Joe Callahan today. We have Tim Draper and Melissa Smith here, and I promised we'd get knee deep in the news. There's all kinds of different things. I'm taking these in no particular order, but is anybody engaged in what might be a presidential search at this point? The Republicans seem to be making all the news. They have another debate coming up a week from tonight down in Miami. And the news story is that South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, whom I've heard some people talk about in glowing terms, has qualified for the third GOP presidential debate next week in Miami.
Well, that's good.
I don't know if does that mean something to you?
Yeah, we need more people to be in that debate.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
You know,
But how many is too many?
Well,
I think
Because I
five is
think
a
we
good
hit
number.
too
five's a
many
good number.
last
Five's a good
time,
number.
didn't we?
5 or 6 is a good number.
5 or 6 is a good number,
But you
yeah.
know what the challenge is you've got the one clown who's the one guy who's out there who is just that was
No,
a
you're not
Freudian slip
excused.
that is just
Oh.
dominating the news with bad news and
Yeah,
and
right.
is not giving any oxygen to his
But
opponents.
dancing kittens
and
dominate the news too.
I know,
I'm
I
sorry.
know.
So why are we concerned
Not that
about
I'm-
him?
that I think that the news is fair and balanced.
That-
in any
why
way,
are we
shape, or
concerned
form, but-
about that man?
Well, that's the problem. There's a lot of people who are.
He has made himself unelectable. He made himself unreelectable.
Well,
Otherwise,
I don't know about that.
I
he'd
don't
have
know.
still been president.
We thought he wasn't going to get elected in the first place, and he lo and behold, here we are. And now he's got the second chance, and there is clearly half the country. We don't see it because we're in New England,
Right.
but there's half the country that just absolutely support this guy till the end.
Yeah, they're not paying attention to what's
No, they
his
don't.
storyline is. They don't care.
Right, they don't care. They are just. It is a cult of personality in a lot of ways. And way back when you could make an argument that I thought the policies he brought to the table were pretty good, but his style and personality
Oh, yeah.
just
Yeah.
make it so appalling
take
to me.
him.
For you just I'm
No,
like,
his execution and delivery has always been cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Right, and I
Yeah.
think that even good, solid, decent, moderate Republicans will tell you the same thing. It's cringeworthy, and they're caught up, and even the elected officials are caught
Oh,
up
my
in it,
gosh.
and they
Sure.
can't get out of it. They can't get out of their own way. That's why I feel bad for Gary Leonard, this guy running against Gabe Mama.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just, he can't get away from what are you going to do? How are you going to distance yourself from Trump? And he tries to avoid the question by saying, I'm here for the people of Rhode Island and stuff like that. But yeah, unless you, I don't know. I feel bad for him because he's stuck. And I think
Yeah.
any Republican running for office right now.
I
is
met
gonna
him
be
last
stuck.
Saturday at the chili cook-off that
Yeah? What'd you think?
they put together
I've never
at
met him.
Champs. I had one opinion of him before I met him and another after. I'll explain that in a moment. But we were at Champs Diner down on Front Street because we had the Missy's Family Fund. They do the big Thanksgiving thing. And they were raising money with the chili cook-off with the help of the Honey Shop, and Kathy LaValle was there. And so I went down and did my voting on the chili and the rest of that, and got one of her fantastic chili dogs, which was just great. And it was my entire lunch. Seriously, it was good. But he happened to be there. And I looked at him from across the room. People look different in person than they do on TV with the makeup and stuff like that. I had seen one little 30-second TV commercial for Gary Leonard. And I'll just tell you what my thoughts were. I was jumping up and down and hooting and hollering. I said, finally, somebody with some guts. And I said it because of this, because the one and only TV commercial I've heard, and I haven't heard any radio commercials, that he put on was on some, I don't know, Denise was watching some pay cable channel and it popped up. And I looked, and he had Joe Sixpack sitting to his left on the camera's right, who was spouting the virtues of this wonderful guy and how he wants to vote for. And every single time he mentioned the candidate's name, he called him a different first name.
Jerry. No.
Larry.
Gary.
Jerry. Mary.
But it's Gary.
Steve. And Gary would just simply sit there and the camera would go on him after the faux pas and say, "That's Gary, please." And I said to myself, over 50 years in broadcasting, I know how to get a message out. I know how to impress people. I know what works as far as getting communicating things. I know that the most important thing for candidate Leonard to do right now is to get his name out there. So when people look at it, there's some identification, and if he doesn't get the name out and get a quick image, then he's doomed. He's wasting his time with advertising. He doesn't have a lot of money for advertising to begin with. Meanwhile, the ammo candidate, he's got Gina and all her millions and friends and stuff like that pushing him to get him elected. So you're looking at an underdog. Putting the party thing aside, you're looking at an underdog candidate, and he just needs to say one simple thing over and over and over again that people are going to get an idea about him. And he did it perfectly. But now, to say the candidate's name wrong 5 or 6 times in the commercial, I know advisors would tell him, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. But I know that it would work. And candidate Leonard had the guts to say, I don't care what you think. I think it's a good ad. Let's go with it. And he did, and he won me over in the advertising department because I said, smart kid, got courage to do stuff that looks dumb, that he has confidence is going to help him reach a goal.
Yeah.
And so that's cool, because if you just go along with people, I'm not so excited about decision makers who just go along with other people and advisors. I'd like to see somebody who's got an idea of their own and bring that to the decision making process.
Well, what's the challenge he's going to have is that I think I heard the number that there's thousands of early votes already done, already in the bank, and they're East Providence, and those are going to be the communities that are just going to vote. They're just going to vote for the Democrats. That they don't really care about Republicans. And so, northern part of the state where where people will go and actually vote, I think he'll do well. But I think those urban communities, he's just going to get toasted there. I mean, that's a problem with any Republican that runs in a state. They're going to get, and John, if he was here, may or may not agree, but 30% of the vote, maybe 33%, 32% of the vote. I mean, that's just a standard Republican vote in the state of Rhode Island. But everybody else is just going to vote for the Democratic candidate. They may not even know who it is. They've just been given the ballot and said, you should fill it out, and you should probably do that top name. That's a good one. And that's what they do.
And I promised you I would tell you what the opinion I had of him after I met him in person.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, like I said, people look a little different in person than they did on TV.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure it was him, but I walked to him. I says, "Are you candidate Leonard?" And he says, "Yeah, I'm the candidate." And we engaged in a conversation. He had been there for a half an hour, and I had been doing my thing with voting for the different pots of chili and things like that, and I was done with it now. And he was just talking to everybody, and I said, thank you for coming to this, relatively small local fundraiser. I'm sure you have an entire district that you have to try to meet, but thanks for spending so much time with us. And he says, yeah, he says, you got some really interesting ideas up here. He says, and I want to know people's ideas. So that was interesting. He's very much the way you saw him on TV in this respect. He's a listener, not a talker. And that I like.
Yeah.
I like that. He actually sits and listens. Dave Cicilline was like that a lot. And I didn't agree with Dave's politics. We talked about that a couple times because we're on a first name basis. But despite the politics, I appreciated Dave Cicilline because he came, he showed up at events. Didn't have to be the big event with the tens of thousands of people. He show up the event with 75 people and spend time with them and start getting to know people. Yeah. So it was really, really nice to see him there. Right. And I came across, I told him, last thing I told him, I said, you know that you're 15 points behind, according to the last figures that I've seen. I said, 15 points isn't the world, but you can lose an election with 15 points behind. So I said, if things don't go the way you hope on the 7th, I wish you'd consider trying again. Yeah. And I mentioned Bruce Sunderland. Now, Bruce Sunderland, you either liked him or you didn't because he was a very polarizing personality. He wasn't as silly as Mr. Trump, but he had a big personality,
Yeah.
kind of like Mr. Trump. And he could put you off because it was all business to him, you know. And so I understood that. And Bruce tried 3 times to be governor, spent a lot of his own fortune trying to be governor. When he got there, he didn't get a good ride. It was very difficult because Risnick collapse happened days before, and he had to shut down the banks and hold the bag. But he was the right guy to have as a governor then. He made hard decisions that people got ticked off about, and he saw what had to happen, and he did the hard things, and he wasn't political about it.
Yeah.
So I think that I think the state of Rhode Island was lucky to have Bruce Sunderland there on that day.
At that time.
And so, you know, good things can happen. And I just told him, I says, if it doesn't work out for you, I wish you'd try again. And he said, well, thank you.
Well, he can do it in a year because who we elect on the 7th
It's only
literally
gonna-
is
it's
only
gonna
going
be
to be there for a
a
year.
short
Has to
timer.
start all over. We got to go through this all over again next year.
Yeah.
So it's it'll be interesting. I did like in the in his responses to questions in the newspaper, and I forget which paper it was. They asked him a question, and Gabe would go through the standard, 5-paragraph answer.
Yeah.
And Gary Leonard would have like 4 or 5 words.
Yeah.
Man, a few words. Yes, no. I've answered the question you asked of me. Here's my answer.
Yeah.
And if you want an explanation on the answer, ask me a different question, and I'll give you a different answer.
Right.
But it was very refreshing to me to see somebody not spin or tap dance around a question and
A
try
little
to
more direct.
Here's the question. I'm going to tell you everything I want to tell you without answering the question, and then maybe I'll answer the question, which is every politician's.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
it's not every politician,
every.
but it's way too many of them. I know
Right.
what
Yeah.
you're talking
Right.
about.
Right.
They hover
So-
in that gray area.
That's
not
right.
being a direct answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Too much tap dancing, not enough smiling.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, not enough being congenial and working
Yeah.
together. And
I agree. All right. Well, we've spent another happy quarter of an hour discussing things. I think it's time for us to take a little break. So you two sip your coffee and have some fun. Our audience can do the same while I talk about the weather forecast. Well, hey, listen, we got Halloween in. Shoehorned it right in there. That's not bad last night. It did get down to 36 degrees, not the 33 that they had threatened, but 36 degrees overnight this past night. So we have so far not had an overnight low below freezing. Guess what? That ends tonight. Today, it'll be a cloudy day with a high near 44, and we'll pay for not getting that warmth through the clouds, as tonight we're looking at more clouds than sun, and then more clouds than clear, and then becoming more clear. And when it becomes more clear, more radiational cooling, and we will get down, they say, to 26 degrees overnight tonight. So your first hard frost comes tonight. Any mosquitoes that you happen to be friendly with, pay your last respects today. For tomorrow, sunny with a high of 48. Friday, it gets warmer, sunny and 55. Saturday, warmer still, sunny and 60. Sunday, warmer and sunny and 61. Then that's about as high as it can go this time of year. Monday, mostly sunny and 60. And on Tuesday, mostly cloudy and 61. There is a 40% chance of a shower on Tuesday. And presently outside our Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio here at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street, we are up to 39 from our overnight low of 36. A girl in Kenya dreams of becoming a doctor. An elder in Guatemala dreams of being part of a community. Reach out and change their world, and it will. Change your own. Unbound.org.
Krakow Deli Bakery and Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal real special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogi with onions and dirty sour cream, or pick up golubki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported goods. We're open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 9 to 6, Wednesdays 9 to 5, and Saturdays 8 to 5. Follow us on Facebook to learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street in Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery and Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love. You know, when you're paying the right price for protection, you just know it. It's that warm, fuzzy, totally secure feeling, knowing that you're not only getting great coverage, but you're also not paying too much for it. And when it comes to your insurance, there's no one better at getting the right price for your protection than Allstate agents Kara and Celeste Benjamin, because they know when it comes to your bank account, every penny counts towards something bigger, something better. Like a nicer car, that home update you've been dreaming of, or a phone that's fresh out of the box. Those little or big things that we work so hard for. And Kara and Celeste Benjamin want to help you work a little less by getting you the coverage you need and the savings you deserve when you switch to Allstate. Contact Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, 2 locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. 765-5000 for a free quote today. Allstate, you're in good hands. And you're in good hands with Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. Savings vary based on the average annual savings reported by new auto customers surveyed in 2019 who switched to Allstate.
Hello, this is Manny Brando. I hope you will listen to us each Sunday morning at 8:30. I will sing your favorite songs, and my wife Virginia will organize everything.
That's right, Manny. It's the Manny and Virginia Show every Sunday morning at 8:30 on ON, AM, and FM radio.
Back here on Coffee and with Tim Draper and Melissa Smith. And Tim has a message this time from the Navigant Credit Union.
Hey, you know what? I was, Dave, I was looking at the website to figure out what my, what was appropriate to talk about, and it occurred to me that
You mean navigantcu.org?
navigantcu.org, exactly. And then it occurred to me, you know what? Maybe it's the website I want to talk about. You know, people can call our contact center and they talk to somebody in Smithfield. Or actually, it's Smithfield or Lincoln. It's on the border. It's the old AT Cross building. So they can
That
call and
one's
talk
Lincoln.
to some.
That one's Lincoln.
Yeah, so they can talk to somebody over there for sure, which is always good. But if you need some information quick on the fly, you got your phone in your hand, you can go to navigantcu.org, as Dave said, and there's just a whole boatload of information right there at your fingertips. You learn all about our checking and savings accounts that we have to offer. Learn a little more about digital banking if you're curious about that. All of our lending products and services are available to you, and you can actually apply for them all online, on your phone, on your desktop, wherever it is. We talk about our credit cards, talk about the insurance offerings that we have. And if you're a business banker, you can learn about cash management services that we offer, our nonprofit services, and our credit and debit cards that are designed for businesses. So, you know, people don't talk enough about their websites and how important those basically channels of information are for folks, because it allows you to do research on your time and not necessarily when our call centers open or our branches are open. So if you have any questions about Navigant Credit Union, you know, just go to the website, navigantcu.org. And if you don't see something that you immediately are interested in, there's a little search feature up at the top. You can just hit the search feature, type in a couple of keywords, and we'll give you a bunch of possible answers. And then you just choose what it is that you're looking for. And then, of course, always you can call us at 233-4700, and we would love to chat. Or more importantly, you can go into the branch and see Christian up here in Woonsocket or any of our other 23 locations throughout the state. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Tim. The AT Cross building is somewhere around 700 feet into Lincoln.
Right. I think it is like
The town line is when you go back toward headquarters
Yep.
in Smithfield at
Yep.
Route 7 and 116.
it's the swamp there, right?
It's before the swamp
Yeah. Right.
and before the car dealer.
Right. Because the airport is actually mostly in Smithfield.
Right, but you access it from Lincoln.
Lincoln. Right.
That's
Yeah.
right. There you go.
See?
Little
geography lesson
lesson.
for those who are interested.
Yeah.
The classic Rhode Island, you know, the old AT Cross building, the old Almax,
They
the old
used to do
Caldor.
wedding photos on the property of AT Cross. Do you remember
Sure.
that?
Yeah,
Because of
I
all
do.
the rolling like tulip
Right.
gardens.
That's
and I
right.
used to live not far from there, and I remember driving by all
Yep.
the time,
Yeah.
seeing people.
Pretty.
It's still landscaped nicely. It's just not.
It's
a
not
lot
the
of
same
tulips.
as it was.
Not the
though.
same as it was.
No.
I always, when I went in, I had a job at the time where we would provide services and products to AT Cross. And when you went to Mr. Boss's office, first of all, I always laughed I says, here's the guy, runs the company. They call him Mr. Boss.
Mr. Boss. It's appropriate.
That was his
Yeah.
actual name, Boss. So anyway, but a lot of your friends worked down on the first floor, actually making those wonderful products that A.K. Cross was making. All right, we're gonna have to do like a lightning round over here. Get to a bunch of topics, and just stop me when I hit one that you want to talk about a little bit. Updated COVID and flu vaccines will be available soon at clinics statewide. Clinics. They're not just saying go to a drugstore and get your shot. They're going to actually have clinics.
So I do have a question about this.
Yes.
And it is I got my COVID booster and flu shot at the same time.
Yep.
Right.
In
they
the
say you
same
can
arm.
do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Boy, the next day, whew, I was a hurting unit for about half a day.
Yeah. Well, 2 shots in one arm. You're not used to it.
Yeah, and I've been hearing a little bit more about the fact that there's a lot of people say you can do that and it's fine, and other people say don't do it. Do one at a time.
I would rather do one at a time. Only they do say you can do both safely. It's fine, but I just think there's something about tracking the symptoms and reactions for each
Yeah.
one of them separately.
Yeah.
Because then you don't know which one gave you a reaction if you had a reaction.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. It was the same exact reaction I had the other 2 flu shots, 2 COVID
Well,
shots
there you
that I've
go.
had. So I mean, I knew it was the COVID shot that was giving me the trouble.
Okay.
It was funny. The flu shot actually hurt more on the surface of my arm.
Well, that has
The
to do with
COVID
your
shot-
nerve distribution.
Yeah, and but then my COVID shot was like, ooh. I was napping the next day, which I never do.
Well, they say you have to make your appointments online, and they'll have additional COVID clinics for schools, and the schools will contact families directly about the clinics. So they're going back to public clinics for that.
Which is always so much fun when you go to a public school and seeing kids lined up, and some of them are screaming. Some of them are watching the kids screaming and crying.
seriously?
Some of them are like running for the door. It is
No,
so
really?
entertaining. Not really
I
as a
never
parent. I'm
saw
just
that.
glad to be past that stage.
I'm of the age that we used to get the polio boosters in school, and you're lined up by
Yeah.
classroom and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I never saw that.
Always. The
Kids are all
I
scared.
mean, my kids are
But,
older
yeah, but
now,
the kids,
so it's
the kids wouldn't express it.
oh no, now it's more
Now they do.
the little ones do, I would say, because little kids are just afraid of the idea of the needle. Once it's over, it's fine, but then other kids, it's like a domino effect. It starts triggering tears and hysteria in the line all the way to
Wow.
the
Oh,
yeah.
no.
it's-
Seriously?
I don't
Well,
miss
no
the
wonder-
little years.
No wonder people don't want shots when they see other people reacting that way. You know,
Yep.
I'm not eager to get a shot, but I look at it and say, oh, listen, I survived it the last time, so it's no big deal.
That's right. I mean, considering the amount of discomfort that I might have had after getting this shot, I look at it and go, man, I don't want to have any of those massive symptoms. Somebody
true.
I know that just recently got COVID and was down and out for a week and a half.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wow.
And then residual. There's some people
Right.
that are like not just
That
out of
long
work or
COVID.
down for a week and a half. It's like they just have that cough thing after.
Yep.
They just can't get rid of it.
Exactly,
That
yeah.
wheezing and yeah, no need to have that.
Suspended Bryant University men's basketball coach Jared Grasso after a delay or two pleaded not guilty yesterday to
Did
his
he?
hit and run accident incident thing.
Of course he did.
You expected it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to say, "Oh no, I did it." There's no.
Seriously?
No. I think it's funny that whatever, this is the way the legal system works. They're always, even if there's tons of evidence already leaked and out there,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not guilty. Well,
Yeah.
how do you
Well, maybe
allows
his
them to
own
make
it,
a plea
just-
deal, I guess, after that.
Maybe, yeah.
I've heard people say that they want to test the evidence against them. They want the chance to lessen the charges or that sort of thing like that. And so you give that up if you plead guilty.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just surprised that Bryant hasn't cut ties yet. There's got to be a reason why they can't.
Well, he's suspended.
Yeah, but they haven't fired
He's
him.
not working. They're not paying him. I mean, geez, you know.
But I mean, that's
He hasn't been proven guilty yet, so I think you have that window of if you fired him under what terms. But there was stuff happening outside of that, so I should be quiet. I should be quiet.
A winning $50,000 Powerball lottery ticket has not yet been claimed and will be expiring tomorrow.
I'm pretty sure it's not me. I checked mine.
It was purchased at a Cumberland Farms on Reservoir Avenue in Cranston, which I don't
Definitely
go
wasn't
to,
me then.
right? And then on December 3rd, another $50,000 Powerball ticket is set to expire. It was bought down in Middletown. Players have 1 year from the date of the drawing to claim their prize at Rhode Island Lottery headquarters. And if you don't, the state gets to keep the money.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be good with that.
No.
Giving it up would be one thing, but I
wonder
don't know
what the
if I like
percentage-
the idea of the state keeping the dough.
Well, I wonder how many people don't claim their prizes.
It has to be unintentional. It has to be.
Yeah, I lost
You
my
look at it quick and
ticket
you
or-
say, "Oh, that's not a winning
Yeah.
ticket," and you move on.
Yeah.
Do you trust your eyes? If I have to look at it if I get one. We don't
Yeah.
buy tickets often. I have to look at it 20 times because I just want to make sure.
That
I
it's
ta-
re-
I'm
I
not
take
that
the ticket-
person.
I take the ticket and I circle the number that's one of the winning numbers. I'll circle it and I'll go, there's only one on this sheet of 5 tickets. That's a bummer.
Yeah, but you want to make sure your eyes aren't playing tricks
Right.
on you. You want to make sure you review it again and
Right.
again and again.
All
Yeah.
right. Up in Boston at Beacon Hill, they're looking to pass a bill to allow cameras at traffic lights in some Massachusetts communities. We've been doing that with
was
red
gonna
light
say, yeah, they don't
cameras
have
here
that
in
up
Rhode Island for a
I
while,
would
so
have
I can
thought,
only
especially with
imagine that
BC up there.
in Boston they're saying, but look, Rhode Island does it.
That is definitely
funny, actually.
backwards, it seems.
It is.
They probably see how much we're collecting in
But
tickets.
since we do it here,
Mm-hmm.
what advice would you give your neighbors in Massachusetts?
Use
Go
Waze.
for it.
Use Waze. Oh, no. For drivers, I'd say use Waze because it'll tell you where the cameras are. Approaching a red light camera.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the question I
Yeah, I know
asked.
it wasn't the question. I'm being a politician. I'm just gonna-
Should Massachusetts do it based on our experience here in Rhode Island? Do you think Massachusetts should enable this?
Well, I mean, you know what? You shouldn't be going through red light. I mean, that's the
Good
law.
point.
And so, listen, guilty is charged. I get nailed from a speed camera, from a red light camera, going through a red light at Rhode Island Hospital.
Yeah, but we know that you weren't going through a red light. You were going through a yellow light that you mistimed.
Yeah, no, this was red.
Oh, no, seriously?
It actually what happened was
you didn't see it, or
I
what?
didn't come to a complete stop.
Oh, I see. Rolling stop.
I was
Got it.
doing a California roll through, so I approached the light. Nobody was coming, and so I just turned.
Right.
But the camera will click
Sure.
if you do that. And then the state was nice enough to send me a video file of me doing it.
Oh,
So if I didn't believe that I did it,
Oh,
there was a little website I could go to that
Now,
said,
would you,
"No,
if
you
you
did
went
it."
to trial, would you say not guilty? I'm just wondering.
in that case,
even with the evidence of the, I'm just wondering. Would
no.
you?
heck of a thing to ask a guy
Probably
just
not in that
before his
case.
second message.
Probably not in that
I'm
case.
just going based on the story we just discussed a minute
That's right.
ago. Would you?
Probably not. I wouldn't
even
have the
though
guts
there's
to
evidence,
say
would
that.
you? Yeah.
Clear evidence.
Second message, please, Tim, from Navigant Credit Union.
So now we'll talk a little bit about the products and services that we have. Right now, people are starting to end of the year. People are starting to think about wrapping up and making sure their budgets were in order for the year and looking at the spends for next year. And a lot of times that comes with reevaluating, where your accounts are. Should I have a different checking account for certain expenses, whatever that might be. Navigant Credit Union has a full suite of different checking accounts that you can have. Everything from a simple no-fee checking account. If you're 55 or older, you have direct deposit, if you have a minimum balance of $500 in a checking account, there's never service charge on that checking account. So there's no monthly fees on those accounts. We have our Embark account, which is our youth account. That's the one where you can really start to train your young folks the importance of managing their money. And then we have our rewards checking, Journey Rewards checking account. And right now, that one actually has an interest rate on the first $20,000 of 4.5%. I think that's what it is, 4.5%. There's qualifications on that account. You got to do 12 debit card transactions, do an electronic payment in and out, and take e-statements. But if you do those 3 things, which people just generally do anyway, you can earn a pretty high interest rate on a checking account up to that $20,000 point. And then it's the normal, lesser interest as you go beyond the $20,000. But, so lots of reasons why you should come to Navigant Credit Union. And we hope that you'll do a little research on us at navigantcu.org or give us a call, 233-4700, or more importantly, hop into the branch over here in Park Square in Woonsocket. Or, quite honestly, there's one in Slatersville, too. So not too far away from each other. And you can go to either location.
There's one
and
at
the
Chepachet,
staff,
too.
right? And the staff is they're all awesome, and they will work with you to try and find the product that's right for you.
Thank you very much, Tim. I've just been handed a note. doesn't make sense. It says two-panel. As the X falls on Josh Daniels, Raiders coach. And the rest of it is all crossed off. I don't know what it said.
They didn't fire Josh McDaniels, did
They did.
they? They fired him
Yesterday.
already? No way.
My husband and I just had this discussion over coffee this morning, and I'm wondering.
So what's-
I thought
I'm
maybe
in the
they-
dark. I
what's
wasn't
the,
following
so what's
that.
the scuttlebutt? Are they going to bring him back? Are they going to fire Bill?
So that's what we talked about this morning.
Wow.
I don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening
I
either,
do
but
not
wow.
think Josh will ever be a head coach again. Now this is too many,
Right.
too many firings
Yeah.
for this guy.
Right.
But I don't think. I don't know. I don't think even if Bill got fired this year, that Josh would be the guy to replace him now, because I think he's lost some clout. But
Right, but would he come back and be an offensive coordinator? Because Bill O'Brien's not a great head coach either.
Yeah,
The
I don't
one
know.
that they keep talking about that Kraft really likes is Gerard Mayo, the defensive guy, and
I do
they
too.
really want him
I do
to
too.
be their head coach. I think.
we got to do something. But I don't think bringing back all the old coaches the way it's never
I
going to
know
be
it
the
never
same.
works.
It'll never be the
Right,
same.
it never be the same. You know why? Because it's not Tom Brady.
It's not Tom Brady. It's also the league has changed.
Right,
Everything
the
has
league's-
changed.
right.
You can't get back what you had.
Right, and we should be
So,
grateful for what we had.
We should.
I'm grateful for what we had.
We
20
don't
years,
know.
that was
We don't know
amazing.
what the caller's question really was, but
Yeah,
we
we're
don't.
assuming
No,
that
no.
But
they
they
were.
got some conversation out of it, so
Yeah.
thanks for dialing in. We'll be right back with more on Coffee Ann.
Dr. Jeffrey Dodge suggests you brush up on your brushing technique. Choose a soft toothbrush. Brush from side to side to avoid irritating your gums. Select a non-abrasive toothpaste, and you can even brush your tongue to help control bad breath. Brush especially after eating sticky foods like peanut butter, bananas, chewy candy, and dried fruit. Dr. Jeffrey Dodge, your family dentist on Park Avenue at Park Square, 762-3044.
Hi, this is Wendy Pyrus from Community Care Alliance. This November 8th, mark your calendars for a special event that embodies the true spirit of the holiday season. Join us right here on ON Radio from 3:30 to 7 p.m. for the Holiday for Kids Radiothon. You can help provide local children and teens with the magic of the holiday season. Please help us be part of the magic, the warmth, and the excitement. Tune in on November 8th, 3:30 to 7.
All right, and the caller also got some extra conversation you didn't hear while the microphones were off. There you go. Well, we're back here on Coffee Ann with Tim Draper and Melissa Smith, and the next topic up here is Blackstone Valley's call and times, as we now have the
Fancy new
officially merged.
branding.
I mean, they've been the same paper now for 6 or 8 years, but now it's official and it's changed on the masthead, and I'm holding
I
it
like
up so
the
those who are
branding.
watching
the
our video
logo's
feed
nice.
can
I
see
think
it.
it looks
Yeah,
good. Looks
it does.
fresh.
It's clean. Yep.
Yeah?
Yep. Looks really good. I like the little gear in the middle with the
It
inside
does. It
in
looks good. The layout actually in the front page looks better than it has in a while.
You like it?
The
Yeah.
whole thing looks
It
cleaner.
almost looks like it's a little old school. Like they've gone back to some of the font looks a little different. But I
Really?
Do you have?
I didn't detect that.
Do you have an issue from? Let's really analyze it. You got two
But
marketing
yesterday-
people here. Let's
Yeah.
let's do
Oh,
a
well,
side by
I
side.
only
I do,
had-
but it's
I only had-
outside the studio. If you give me a couple of minutes, I could have gotten it for
Oh, we'll
you.
take over the show. Go ahead.
And that is true, Dave. You could leave and you would be missed, but
Yeah.
still figure it out.
There you go.
Yeah, I think I have one personal piece of feedback. Not that they're going to care; it matters from what I think.
Let's
But
give you a full view.
I don't know if you needed the apostrophe s. It could be Blackstone Valley Call and Times.
Yeah.
I
instead of
completely agree.
Blackstone
I
Valley.
think this should have been
Call
the
and Times.
Blackstone Valley.
Or the Blackstone. Well,
I
you're
agree.
right.
You
I
don't
think
need the apostrophe s.
You said
That's-
it could have been the Blackstone Valleys. No, you
No,
can't
just
say
Blackstone
S.
Valley, Colin Times.
Right.
Yep, we just solved that.
You
High
could
five.
save the two save the two pieces of font there. Those two
Yeah.
letters. Two
Uh-huh.
places.
We're gonna put this away because we might.
But you know what?
But it all in all looks
All
really
looks
much
great.
better.
Absolutely. I think
I
it's good.
actually do even like. Although what? Oh! I see what they did here.
Yeah.
Okay, so since 1892 and since 1880, so it's the merging, and they added the
Right.
dates on the side.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna stop looking.
What's interesting is that Joe. I thought I heard Joe say that the paper owns the Sun Chronicle too in North.
Well, they do, and Westerly Sun, and a whole bunch of weeklies
Some of the
in Kent
locals around
County,
here.
and
All
yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah, they own a number of newspapers.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. So that's that.
I used to like the Sun Chronicle. I used to work up in the Attleboro area.
Yeah.
That was a nice-
And the one takeaway I have is something that goes for me way before I was full time in radio. When I was working full time in the mill, I was very, very young. I learned a long time ago the company that doesn't make changes is the company that doesn't survive.
That's true.
And
It's true.
so people would
Entirely
say that, oh, this mill was laying off. I think a lot of our old timers remember hearing that wherever they worked. Oh, this mill's laying off. And everybody would be talking like, oh, my goodness, they're going out of business and stuff like that. No, the mill that lays off is the mill that sticks around. The mill that doesn't lay off is the one that's in jeopardy.
Yeah.
You have to adjust to market conditions as
Well,
a business. And if you
right.
fail to do that, then you can fail completely.
That's right. I mean, that's the big challenge with businesses, and I think people forget that. But a business survives on its sales, and if sales are down for whatever reason,
Right.
could be the management, right? Or it
Right.
just could be people aren't interested in a particular product, and they have to find their new product.
It could be a
to do.
trend. It could be a cycle.
Trend,
It could be
exactly.
anything.
And so, to your point, if you just stay, you have a whole line that was producing a widget, and then that widget is no longer in demand, and you keep the line, you
Yeah.
have expenses that you can't cover. You're going to go out of business. You're 100% right. You have to
Exactly.
make that adjustment. And so,
And people would talk that way. Of course, when I took over the radio station 33 years ago, I couldn't run everything the way that my predecessors did. Actually, there were two predecessors from out of town that were running it after they bought it from the newspaper. But and those people, it was easy to improve upon. But I couldn't run it the way it was when the call was owning it. First of all, I had a mortgage, and the call didn't.
Yeah.
So I have, you just have expenses, and you have to address them all.
Right, you gotta make it
Plus,
work.
the needs are different. I mean, you look at things now. I can't tell you probably adequately for you to understand the way it is in my head. I don't think I could express it properly or completely enough. That, boy, do I wish for the days when you showed up, you turned on the microphone, and you did your work. Now we've got the computer assist, and you have to have computer assist because you have to have smaller staffs, because you just have to have smaller staffs. And then you have television and internet and all these things that I've added since I owned the place, because they were necessary to keep pace and to take what you're producing, the content, and serve it to as many people as possible.
and it's also from an advertiser standpoint.
Yeah.
There's so many different places to put your advertising
Oh, yeah.
dollars so that you can, you're looking at the streaming services you talked about earlier
Right.
today, right? So in order to reach the audiences that you need to reach, you need to be in all those areas. So when you offer them,
Right.
it's easy for us to say, okay, well, we know that we're going to get on 5 different mediums
Right.
when we do our advertising here at the station. So that's why it
In the
worked
case
for
of
you.
coffee, and 7.
7. That's right.
Plus replays.
That is 100% right. But if you didn't have any of those streaming services or any of those other options for us, we'd be one.
Life would
one
be
thing.
simpler here, but
It
we
would be
would not
simpler.
be serving the public to our
Correct.
best abilities.
Correct.
Sometimes I want to go backwards.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to go back to a simpler time and
Right.
not have that
Pre-COVID,
right?
pre-masks.
No, I mean like
Pre-
like the 80s,
stupid
70s,
regulations.
80s. I don't
Oh,
mean
yeah.
all that. I
I'm
mean
gonna go to big hair and
you're
parachute
talking about
pants. That's what I wanna
evolving
go back
and
to.
the technology and everything is faster and everything is just and some
Yeah.
days you just feel suffocated with how fast everything is. And you just
Yeah.
say, let's just get rid of the phones. Let's get rid of computers. Let's
Yeah.
go back to print and paper. Let's slow things down because it really, the keeping
But
up
the
is.
world isn't like
it-
that.
it's
Cat's
not.
out of the bag.
And
It'll
it
never
keeps
change.
going faster. And I watch the kids today and I just think we're just all spinning.
And if
Do you
you
think
We're
our
spinning.
parents thought that about us when we were growing up and in
Oh.
the 80s and doing all that
Right.
stuff?
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and going
Oh,
quick.
yes.
They were
Yes.
sitting back going, I long for the 50s when life was simpler and we were a family and we had dinner together at night and
Yep.
I wore a tie at the table and all that
Yeah.
other stuff.
I think
right?
you have to intentionally make those choices right now. You have to intentionally insert a family dinner once or twice a week. It's
Yeah.
not like back then when it was every night. It's
but it's appreciated more.
it is appreciated,
Because
but you're
of the effort.
finding the time to make sure you
Yeah.
have those moments of slowdown because otherwise life is just that's the one thing we talked about the pandemic was positive for was the slowdown and
Yeah.
families being forced to just be home and be together and I don't know. I always say
And
that
had
I
each other
really like my
Kleenex.
people. I like my family. I like my husband. And
It gave it, but it also gave you that sense of, wow, I really need people.
yeah,
It's amazing when you get shut down, like, oh, there's nothing. We would find ways to be together on Zoom, and
Yeah.
Wednesday nights we had our little 6-pack group of friends would do a FaceTime thing, and we would all cook the same meal.
yeah.
at the same time. And we would be on for like an hour and a half. We'd have crack open a bottle of wine, whatever the meal was that we were cooking. We did it all at the same time. So it's okay. Did you put the chicken in the oven yet? Yep, it's in the oven. Okay, 10 minutes. And then when it was time, we'd all eat together.
Now, do you think that, because we've jokingly said a few times, some of our best memories were doing things like
Right.
that and doing
Right.
bingo with all my family, whatever.
Right.
But we've jokingly said we should just, like this Saturday night, jump
Just
on, do an old
do
school
it. Do an old
FaceTime of
school
bingo
FaceTime,
with
right.
everybody. And
We've talked
you
about
know,
it too. I think we might
because
end
there's
up
some
trying
good
to-
laughs during that time
Oh,
period.
yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah.
you didn't need, the speed of everything today, and you didn't need technology. FaceTime, that was critical. That was important. But I even found social media, all that stuff just slowed down, and it
Yeah.
was just nice
Yeah.
for a hot minute.
You know, my dad told me one time, he says, Dave, you can hold back the hands of time, and you know what you end up with? A broken clock.
Well, thank
Well,
you for that.
that's okay.
Thank you for that.
Great piece of
Okay,
advice.
next. All right. Well, federal authorities have wrapped up their safety review of the SpaceX Starship rocket. The nearly 400-foot rocket has just one test flight so far and stands ready for a second liftoff at the SpaceX launch pad in South Texas. On Tuesday, the FAA says it was done assessing the risks that launching a giant rocket might have on public health and property. The agency added, however, that it was still working on its environmental review. NASA plans on using the Starship for its Artemis 3 moon mission to land humans on the lunar surface. A target launch is set for December of 2025. But now
this-
they said that it's safe enough. I don't know how you get safe
Can I-
sitting on top of, liquid propellant like that could destroy a city block. But all right.
So they're saying that 2025 is when the Artemis mission is supposed to launch.
That's
the
when
one to the
Artemis
moon.
3 is supposed to take
But
people to the moon.
The current one, the test flight that they want to do, is imminent, is it not? Or are they still doing their
Probably.
review?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Probably.
Because I tell you what, that's fascinating. I find that whole thing fascinating. You would spend that much money to watch a rocket blow up, and you were expecting it to. I'm just going to let it go up, and we'll see what happens, and then we'll fix what breaks.
All I see is dollar signs. I'm like,
Oh,
oh
I know.
my God, there's
But
a
when it-
million other
when-
things that could
Yeah,
be solved with.
right. But you just look at it and you go, the way that I'll use Elon Musk and SpaceX as an example, the way that they have plowed forward in terms of technology and solving problems, and the way they solve problems, versus the NASAs of the world with all the bureaucracies and all the red tape that has to go along with it. The only thing holding SpaceX up is the government, because
Right. Oh, yeah.
they've been ready to go for months. They saw that they blew the pad up the first time and said, we got to fix that. And within like 4 months, they had fixed it with a new design.
Yeah.
And they're gonna test it. They've tested it a bunch of times without firing the rockets. But I just let this guy go. Let's see what he can do. Because whatever he does in space somehow will come back and be a benefit to somebody on Earth. That's what the whole space program was.
Yeah.
They test it in certain environments, and then hey, memory foam pillows and memory foam beds. Those were all NASA.
Yeah,
sponsored
sure.
things.
Tang.
Tang.
Bad example.
How was
Nobody
Tang
drinks
today?
Tang
What's
anymore, right?
Tang and vodka maybe, but that's about
The
it.
only thing people buy Tang for is to clean their dishwasher. That's what I've learned.
Really?
That was we have well water, and we've gone through dishwashers every
Yeah.
3 years,
Oh,
and
and
we
the
had a
acidic
technician that
content,
said
yeah.
to us, like, whatever the sediment and residual like clogs up all
Yeah.
of the
Citric acid.
yeah, and they
will
said throw a
take it-
couple of spoonfuls of Tang in once a month. Just run your dishwasher on empty, and yeah. He's like,
Wow.
that's all people buy Tang for is, and then you say, what is in Tang?
Why don't they just relabel it and call
erodes
it
the
dishwashing
You could
cleaner?
do the
hard
same
water
thing with lemon
sediments in
juice,
your-
but people have a hard time taking something edible
Yeah.
and putting it.
Yeah.
Although now I'm going to get in trouble with the Tang people for not calling it edible. But
Again, I
All right.
wonder.
Hey,
and-
they're not
Listen.
sponsors. Don't worry about it.
things that we didn't talk about today: the last Beatles song drops tomorrow. Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi and Governor of Hawaii Josh Green dressed each other in costumes for Halloween last night. Not sure we want to go
Did
there
they
either.
pick those
Let's-
costumes out, or did they actually dress each other? That would be weird.
they dressed as each other.
can't
Oh,
believe
dressed
we didn't
as
have
each
time for
other.
that
But
story.
Yeah.
it says they dressed each other, but I think that should be dressed as each other.
I got you.
Okay.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
No,
Let's
Yeah.
that's a different kind of
switch
party,
off that.
actually.
I know.
It certainly is. And then some lady in Northern California is in Dutch for organizing parties for her kids, encouraging alcohol and sex and things like that, and she's going to jail.
Aren't you glad Dave saved that one for the time we can't?
I thought
actually
we
talk
talked about
it?
avoiding that one.
Joe would have brought it up first. And then he would say, Melissa, what do you think about this?
Pleading with this group just to
Quite frankly,
like the last 10 minutes, just let's load up the positive stories, but no
Right.
one wants to
I'm
listen
in.
to me.
I'm in. I'd do it.
We needed to become a warm and fuzzy.
well, I talked to you about
Wrap up.
the mayor and the governor dressing themselves, so I
That was
guess
close,
that's
Dave.
positive.
We're almost there.
Comical.
You don't want
yeah,
them
that
going
was,
out naked on Halloween, right?
We're so close.
We
Time
also
for.
don't want the visual of them dressing each other. So the way that you, I can't.
I'm trying to get off the
I know.
subject, and
Let's
you're
go.
sticking
Let's
to
wrap
it.
this up.
It's time for a final comment, Melissa Smith.
Have a great day.
Thank
See you
you.
next week.
Timmy,
Everybody enjoy the God-given day.
thank you very much for our acknowledgement of our dear friend Jackie Boudreau as well. And John will probably be back with us next Wednesday. He was
En route, I
off
think.
today, like
Traveling.
Joe Callahan's off today.
I think it was his grandkids in Virginia.
Yeah.
I think that's what he said.
Could be, I
Gonna
don't
be driving
know.
back.
But,
Drive slow, John. I know you're listening. So.
If you missed any portion of today's gem, just pick it up on demand at wonsocketradio.com. And Joe will be back tomorrow, another coffee, and make it a good day, won't you please?
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news.
A redrafted bill expanding access to e-books and digital audiobooks in Massachusetts complies with federal law, according to supporters. A similar law was ruled unconstitutional down in Maryland. An NPR station in Boston, however, reports that the proposed bill would change licensing agreements with book publishers to reduce costs for libraries. The Massachusetts Library Association says under current licensing guidelines, it's difficult for libraries to maintain or expand their collections.
Sentencing has been handed down in the case of a Woonsocket woman who caused a fatal crash nearly 2 years ago. 33-year-old Audriana Hill entered a no-contest plea to a charge of DUI resulting in death. She was sentenced to 15 years, with 8 behind bars at the ACI, and the rest suspended with probation. Prosecutors say Hill was drunk when she ran a red light and struck a car driven by 25-year-old Caleb Winfrey on December 7th in 2021. Winfrey died about 2 weeks after the crash.